So Zoho Books is strictly an accounting software. Everything accounting is embedded in this system. That means at the end of the day, it will help you with your sales process and with your purchases process. It will help you with both. It will help you. So sorry about that. So at the end of the day, your sales process will be captured in the system, starting from quotation to receipts to credit notes and everything. And also the purchase process is also captured in the system. So we also have like different features like the reports module. The report module comes along like with so many reports, the profit and loss. It comes along like with the balance sheet. It comes along like with the inventory summary. And the beauty about Zoho Books, it has like that extension, like you can be able like to track inventory stock for your business. Let's say you have a warehouse. So what Zoho does, it helps you like to also enable warehouses in the system. So at the end of the day, you have to, at the end of the day, you can see the closing stock as per all those warehouses, as per all those different warehouses that you had configured in the system. Yes. So moving along, remember the system is run by a human. So garbage in, garbage out. Once you give the system like inaccurate information, at the end of the day, it will also give you inaccurate reports. That's why we are here to like guide you through on how like to go about with the system. And the beauty about it, it's easy to use. It doesn't have like complex language. Even all the modules are not that complex. You can maneuver through everything. We also have like different Zoho apps. We have Zoho Inventory, a suite that specifically manages your stock. Much as Zoho has some bit of inventory, but its inventory is not that broad. So we have like another tool called Zoho Inventory that manages stock and warehousing and everything. We also have Zoho CRM that handles your customer relationships. We also have like the Zoho Begin. So let's say once your business starts growing, we can be able like to integrate Zoho, like Zoho Books to the other suites, to the other software. Let's say now you have opened up like a new branch and then you are dealing like in bulk stock. So you can be able like to integrate like Zoho Books with Zoho Inventory. So at the end of the day, you'll be able to transact like in the same umbrella. You'll be able like to transact in Zoho Books and Zoho Inventory at a go. Yes. So what you see here on your end is like the dashboard. Once you go to Zoho and then you open your software. So what will welcome you is a dashboard, and that's what you're seeing on your end. A dashboard is like a summary of what you have put in the system, of what you have recorded. So at the end of the day, you have like a summarized view. So this is the dashboard. Let us start with the dashboard and I'll explain. So the dashboard, it starts with, on my left, it starts with the total receivables. So the total receivables means the amount of money you're supposed to get from your customers. So in that, we will be able like to answer, we'll be able like to transact in the system using like an invoice in the sales process. You start with a quotation, but a quotation doesn't really affect your financials. It's when you convert a quotation in the system into an invoice that your transactions will get affected. So here it will show you, let's say if you had started like transacting in the system, and if you had recorded like invoices, and then remember, when you record an invoice is like a credit sale. So when you issue an invoice, it means you're supposed to get like some amount of money from a specific customer. Yeah. So you, at the end of the day, when you haven't like recorded payment against those invoices, you will see like an outstanding amount here. So at the end of the day, the system will pull for you the total outstanding amount as per those invoices. So you have like that clear view. And it's like, if I'm to break it down like in layman's language, it's like a customer balance, like customer balances. So at the end of the day, you will get to know how much money you are supposed to receive from your customers. It's like that. It's like a debt in actual sense. So we also have like the total payables, it is also like, this is like the same as with this, but the opposite. So for the receivables, you're going to receive, you're supposed to receive. Then with the payables, it means you're supposed to pay. So how we answer this whole movement in the software, we answer it by issuing bills in the system. So when you attach a bill is like is a document you send like to your supplier. Let's say if you're in need of stock, your resellable stock. So a bill is like that document that you send to your supplier, letting them know that they are supposed to supply a certain quantity to your premises for payment. So for this, let's say if you had recorded a bill and then you hadn't like attached any payment against that bill, so at the end of the day, the system will pull for you the total amount of money payable to all those suppliers. So when you have this information, when you have your invoices against your total unpaid invoices against your total unpaid bills, so at the end of the day, it will give you like a good financial, it will give you like a good financial position. So you'll be able
Okay,
like to, let's say, yes, please.
I get you to give your financial overview.
Yeah. Hello? Are you, yes, please, Agnes.
Yeah, I was just agreeing to good that it gives you an overview of your
Yeah,
standing then.
yes, please. So moving along to the cash flow. So for the cash flow statement, it's like at the end of the day, you would want to see like how you did in terms of what you brought in, what you got out, and then at the end of the day, you get what we have like a closing balance. So on our right here, because this system is empty, it's like a demo account, you haven't like attached any transaction, but this is usually represented in a graph, like in a line graph, like a line graph. And once you click, like once you hover your mouse, like to like a specific month, you'll be able like to see some report. So let's say for January, you'll be able to see the incoming versus the outgoing, and then you'll be able like to see the closing balance. You'll be able like to see the closing balance. So as you can see on my still on my right, you'll be able like to have that information. You'll be able like to see what you brought in as per this month, out incoming versus outgoing, and also the closing balance. That's it like for the cash flow. So we also have like this summary, income versus expense. So for the income versus expense, this is usually represented in a bar graph, like a bar graph. So let's say for a specific month, you brought in like more income than expenses. So you will see like your bar for income being higher than the one for expenses. Also, this will give you like a good visibility for your financials. But remember, all these reports are not like static. You can actually go ahead and filter them. Let's say you want to see like how you did for the last 12 months, or for the previous fiscal year, or for the last 6 months. You'll be able like to filter that, and the system will give you that information. So let me do previous fiscal year. So definitely you see that the system will definitely spool 2025. Yeah. We also have this another summary concerning like the top expenses. So that's for this, it is represent it, the system brings it in a pie chart. Yes, in a pie chart. So at the end of the day, you'll be able like to see that specific expense that is taking the most money from your business. So let's say if you had configured in your chart of accounts, which we'll see at the end of the day how to first configure the chart of accounts. Let's say in your under your expenses, you had configured salaries and wages, utilities, professional fees, consultancy. So at the end of the day, a pie chart will reflect here, and you'll see if it's the consultancy, you'll be able like to see consultancy expense taking the most money from your business. Yeah. So at the end of the day, you have like also a good visibility concerning all your expenses. So we also have this feature, the projects feature. The projects feature in Zoho Books like allows you, I mean, it helps you like to determine whether the project is profitable. Let me share like brief light concerning projects. You know, let's say because in Zoho Books we have a projects feature which is here, time tracking, so you can be able like to start attaching like projects. So projects run on like they run like on budgets versus actuals. So let's say you have like this, let's say had a girl or cancer run, something like that, any project or any business related project of your business. So you can project, you can forecast for that specific project. Let's say you're doing, let's say design or construction, something like that. I'm just giving an example. Let's say now you forecast an income of, let's say 20 million. You can be able like to attach that forecast for your income, and then you can also attach a forecast, an expense forecast, let's say of 10 million. And then at the end of the day, you can attach like an invoice. You can attach like let's say you have received money as per that specific project. You can be able like to attach the incomes, and then let's say you have realized like some expenses, let's say travel, let's say campaigns, market publicity. You can be able like to attach like those expenses. So what the system does for you, it will be able like to assess the budgeted versus the actuals. So let's say for the budget you had budgeted 20M for the income, but then on attaching like incomes real time, you realize that you have realized something like 15. Now for expenses, you have budgeted for, let's say, 10, but you have expensed even more than 10. You have expensed, let's say, 12. So at the end of the day, the system will auto-calculate those things for you, that whole movement. So at the end of the day, you will see whether this project has been profitable or not profitable as per all those transactions that you have attached against it. Yeah. So we have this feature, the bank and credit cards. So what Zoho Books does, this is a feature that allows you like to attach all those accounts that you use for your daily running. Let's say you have a Stanbic Bank account running. You can be able like to attach that bank equity and everything. So this is the feature, the banking feature. So let me open it. So here, when I want to connect the bank, my preferred bank, I'm going to click connect, but there is a limitation because of like the geography. Okay, our country, the geographic nature. Zoho only integrated only international banks. We have PayPal, we have Bank of America, but it didn't integrate like our local banks, but weren't left out. You can be able like to add those accounts manually. So you see here where there is add account. So here you can click add account, and then you'll be able like to add the account name, the currency that you're transacting in. Let's say you can add, let's say, account name, let's say you call it Stanbic, and then you can be able to attach the currency. Let's say for that specific Stanbic bank, it's in maybe USD. So there is USD, so you can attach the currency or euros or any. So the system comes along like with different like currencies. And also the beauty about Zoho Books, it has like automatic like exchange rate feeds. So at the end of the day, on your profit and loss, let's say you had attached, let's say okay, let's say now in Zoho you had attached, let's say an invoice, let's say in a different currency. You have received also a payment in a different currency. So at the end of that day, you'll be able like to, on your profit and loss, you'll be able to see whether it was an exchange gain or loss based on the automatic like exchange rate feeds that are embedded in the system. Yeah, so you don't have to manually like you don't have like to manually calculate like those exchange rates and everything. So let me scroll down. to the banks. So for this feature, for the bank and credit cards, at the end of the day, you get to see your closing balances, your running balances as per all those banks list that you had configured in the system. So remember this information. This information for banks is quite confidential. So at the end of the day, you yourself, you're going to ask me, but Martha, this information is very confidential. Now let's say I invite people in the system, because yes, Zoho Books allows you like to invite other people in the system. Let's say you have another accountant, let's say you have a manager that you would want to invite in this. Yes, it allows you to invite other people in the system so they can be able like to transact. And the beauty also about this whole movement, you can go ahead and restrict and grant access. So let's say I am inviting Agnes in the system, I can go ahead and block them from viewing this, because this information is highly confidential. You wouldn't want them to see your balance at the end of the day. If you want them to have a look at it, if they're an accountant, because that information is very important for all accountants. So you can go ahead and fine tune. It's this feature, it's called the users. When I go to my settings, let me go there. So here I go to my settings and then I go to roles. So for roles, we see here, for an admin, they have unrestricted access to all modules. For a staff, access to all modules except report settings and accountant. So for you yourself, you can go ahead and create a new role of yourself. So when you're creating a role, this is where you fine tune. You can go ahead and block. You can attach a role name. Let's say you're inviting, let's say, a marketing person in the system, but then at the same time, you wouldn't want them to see your banking information. So when I scroll down here, this is where you limit. Would you want them to have full? Would you want them to view? Would you want them to create, edit, or delete? If you don't want them to have like a full view of everything, you enable like the checkbox. But if you want them to have a full view of your banking information, so you check this checkbox, and then they'll be able like to have full view, create, edit, and everything. But if you don't want them maybe to delete, you don't want them to edit or create any, but you would want them to view, you can go ahead and fine tune. So after creating that role, so you see these modules, the contacts, the items, the inventory, the banking. So this is where like you make like you fine tune what you would want them to have access to. So when you're done saving that role, when you're done like fine tuning that role, you click save. So let's say I'm done saving that specific role, it will be listed under here. So you go to users. So here I'm at a point of inviting a user in the system. So here I'll click invite user. So looks like it's taking time to load, but this whole feature allows you like to invite a user in the system. So at the end of the day, the most important part, you will see like an email, you will attach an email against that specific person, and then you attach the role that you had configured in the system, and then they'll be able like to receive an email on their end, and then they'll be able like to access whatever that you had granted or limited. So moving along, we had already explained the dashboard. So let us move along to the different modules that we'll be using like for our daily transacting. So on our left, we have like a menu. A menu has like the items, it has the inventory, the one that I talked about. We have the sales process, we have the purchases, we have the time tracking, which is the project, we have the banking, we have the accountant, the reports, and then the document. So for the items, let's move along. For the items, this is the module that helps you like to configure all those things that you are selling to your specific customers. So let's say if you're a service-based business or a product-based business, this is where you attach all those items that you sell out to your customers. So you just click new. If it's a service, you click service. If it's a product, If it's a good, you click good. But for a good, you're going to fine tune like the unit of measurement, box, centimeter, or a piece. So you choose as per your choice, and then you can be able like to add like an image as per that specific good that you are selling out. So here you can attach a selling price. You can attach the description of your choice. Moving along, you can attach the purchase information for that specific item, a description, and then the preferred vendor. But a point to ponder, the fields that are in black versus the fields that are in red. So you're going to ask me, why is it that way? So the fields that are in red, it means that it's mandatory for you to attach information against the fields that are in red. And also the fields that are in black, it means it's not mandatory. That means you can actually go ahead and save that specific item or any information without attaching any information against the fields that are in black. But you can't go ahead and save any, you will not be able to save this specific item if you haven't attached the relevant information against the field that is in red. Yeah. So let's say for name, you can go ahead and attach a name, your goods. And then if you don't have like a unit of measurement, because it's a field that is in black, you can go ahead and skip that. You can go ahead and attach the selling price, the cost price, and then for there you'll be able like to save. So if you were, let me do a test here. I do nails, like as let me assume I'm a hardware, and then I sell them in kilograms. I sell them in kilograms. I can attach any image of my choice here, but I'm not going to do that. So here my selling price per kilogram, let's say I do it at 30,000. And then cost price, I do it at, let's say, the rate as per which I got it at. So let's say I got it at, let's say, 20,000. So after that, I'll be able like to save. So our item has been saved. So the same protocol that we have gone through while creating an item, which is a good, that is the same protocol that we'll go through while creating your services. So you just click new and then do a service. You get? So let's say you have done a mistake and then you want to make adjustments. So you can click this specific item and then this pencil-like icon, you can be able like to edit. And that is also the beauty about the system. It's not that it's a once-off. Once you create, let's say, once you add an item, it's not that, hey, it's a done deal. You're not going to make adjustments. No, you can go ahead and edit. Let's say now you want to delete. You don't have anything to do with this item. So there is this more icon here, a drop down. You click on the drop down and then you can be able like to delete or mark it as inactive or clone. Clone means like you're duplicating this specific item. Yeah. So that's it for the items part. So we have this inventory part works along with these items. Now, let's say I want to keep track of this specific inventory or this specific item. I'll have to go back to my settings and then go to general. Under general, I go to items. Then here, I'll scroll down. Then here I'll click, it's enable inventory tracking. So here I'm going to enable. Then here the system comes along like with other adjustments. Would you want the system to give you like a prompt, like preventing your stock from going below zero? Yes. Show an out of stock warning? Yes. Notify me when an item reaches the reorder point? Yes. So if you want those adjustments, you can go ahead and save. So let us go back to our dashboard. I go to items, I click nails, then do edit. So I've already enabled inventory. So when I click enable inventory, the system will bring along this specific adjustment here. Would you want to track inventory for this specific item? Yes. So you can go ahead and enable the checkbox. So here you can choose, we have an inventory account. We have the inventory account. So you choose like the inventory asset. And then here you're going to choose the inventory valuation, which is first in, first out, the most common one. So to answer the question in the chat, in the chat, someone asked the meaning of this specific account. Someone asked, what is the description of the account field under sales? So this, you mean this? So remember, this is the sales information. So whatever that you're seeing under here is attached to sales. So when you have attached maybe a payment, a sale against this specific item, so this is the account, the sales. So the account that is attached to this is to sales. So on your PL, on your profit and loss, you'll be able like to see this specific account reflecting on your profit and loss. I hope that you have. I hope I've answered you. Same as with the purchase information. So the purchase information, we have the system brings along like the preferred account that is attached to the purchase information. So the cost of goods sold, is like, okay, because this is a purchasable information, a purchasable item or a resellable item. So the cost of goods sold, it means like that specific amount of money that you incurred in like while like purchasing this specific item. So a cost of goods is like the cost price, really. It is the same as this. So at the end of the day, let's say you have bought in like this specific item, you have purchased nails in your, like you have purchased in nails. So remember, it's also like an expense, but not really an expense. So even on your profit and loss, this specific account will reflect at the end of the day. You'll be able like to see what you incurred in while bringing in this specific item in your business. I hope I have answered you. So moving along to the inventory, you can be able like to attach like the reorder point. So the reorder point is like, let me create a scenario for this specific nails that I'm configuring the system. Let's say I don't want my nails to fall below 5 kilograms. So if I go to 5 kilograms, the system should give me like a notification and then I reorder again. That is like the reorder point. So that is like for products. So that means for when you're configuring a service in the system, you're not going to be able like to do a reordering because you can't quantify a service. So for the inventory and for inventory works for product-based businesses, like for products, for businesses that handle tangible products. But for a service, you're going to ignore the whole inventory, like the whole inventory movement. That's all like with the items. So let's move along with the sales. So under sales, we have like different sub-modules. We have the customers, we have the quotations, sales orders, invoices, receipts, recurring invoices, payments received to credit notes. So let me give like a brief background about these modules. For the customers, the way we have seen for the items, so this is where like you attach all those customers in the system. So I had already attached so many customers. So on your end, you'll be able like to also click new. So in Zoho Books, it's all about like, if you want to create a new thing in Zoho Books, you just click new, plus new, plus new. So the way we have seen with an item, that is the way we are going to see it with a customer. So you click new, and then if it's a business, you click business, and then for a business, you're going to attach a company name. But for an individual, you're just going to do a salutation, a primary contact. You add Mr. or Mrs. or any name of your choice. And then here you're going to choose the display name. So here let me do, let's say ABC, because I've chosen like business, ABC. And then here I'm going to choose the display name. So remember the fields that are in red versus black. So if you have like a phone, a mobile, an email and everything, you'll be able like to attach. So me, I'm going to leave it at that, and then I'm going to click save. So the contact has been updated. Let's say you want to edit it, you come here and edit and do adjustments of your choice. If you want maybe to delete, you'll be able like to delete. So that is like the whole process of adding a new customer in the system. So now the beauty about Zoho Books, one process leads to the other. So you see all these modules are listed under when you're done like creating a customer. So the system will be able like to tell you what you want to do against that specific customer. So let me click this specific customer that I've created in the system. So here the system will tell you what's next. Would you want to create an invoice or a quotation and send it to your customer? So if you want a quotation, you can click a quotation. If you want an invoice, you click an invoice. So let me shed a brief light about what the difference between a quote and an invoice. So a quotation is like, it doesn't affect any financials in Zoho Books. So a quotation is like when a customer expresses interest in your product, you send them a quotation. A quotation is like you're trying to tell them, this is what I have as per this particular price and everything. But once they have confirmed that quotation, that's when you automatically convert the quotation into an invoice. So here, let's say I want to create a new quotation. I'll create a new quotation. So the system automatically bring the customer name, the one that I've created, to bring the quote number. These are auto-generated. So you choose the quote date. The quote date is the current date. So here I can choose the expiry date as per when you want this specific quote to expire. This is on your preference. You can attach a salesperson and project name. These are not mandatory. They are black fields, remember. So I'm not going to attach anything. So our most important part is the items table. The items table, this is where you're going to add whatever the client. Okay, remember the client has come to you, they have expressed interest, they're like, maybe I go to see your business, let's say from a website, just send me whatever that you're dealing in. So here I'm going to choose the items. So I'm going to attach that specific thing that the customer expressed interest in. So for this case, let's say the customer expressed interest in my nails. Let's say I'm a hardware. So I'm going to click this specific item that I just configured in the system. Now you have seen the benefit of adding the items. So here, the system automatically bring for you that specific item. Even it will show you the quantity that you have on hand, which is 0 because I haven't attached any opening stock, and also the rate. So you see the rate that we had attached in the system, 30,000. So let's say all your prices are VAT exclusive, but you want to attach VAT. So you'll be able like to add here tax. So here I'm going to do new tax, and then let's say I do VAT. Then here I'm going to attach like the percentage and then save. So you see my tax component has been incorporated. So here my subtotal is 30,000, VAT 5,400. So when I add VAT, it will go to 35,400. So when you're done, you first save it as draft, and we see how our quote will look like. So here I'm going to view it in PDF. So this is how your quote will look like. Not worry about this. So let's say now you had already configured your business very well. Even your logo will reflect here. There's a point where the system allows you like to upload a logo. I'll show you. So even your logo will reflect here. Your business details, your business name, the location and everything, they reflect here. Here it will show you the customer that you're billing, the expiry date, and whatever that you have billed them, the nail, the quantity, the rate, the amount, the VAT, and then the total amount, and then everything. So now you can be able like to send this specific quotation on email, because Zoho comes along like with its own embedded email, or you can go ahead and send it manually. You download it When you're downloading it, you can go ahead and send it on their WhatsApp and everything. So once you have confirmed that the client has received that specific quotation, you can come here and click mark it as sent. So now let's say the client has agreed, they are okay with this specific pricing. So that's when you're going to convert. So one process leads to the other. So upon creating a quotation in the system, you can go ahead and convert this quotation into an invoice or a sales order, but usually it's an invoice. So you convert into an invoice. So the system prompts you the fields that you would want to retain. Yes, I would want to retain the customer notes, the terms and conditions, and then the address. And then I'll click save and continue. So the system will take you to this. Yes, to answer the question that is from the chat, yes, it's possible to customize the color and the theme of the quotation. Yes, it is possible. You'll be able to see that in the other trainings concerning customization, PDF templates, and so forth. So we have automatically converted the quotation into an invoice. So this is the document name, new invoice. So the system will automatically bring the customer name, the invoice number, the invoice date. So this is where the magic comes in. So the terms. Now you have sent the quotation to the customer, but the customer is like, I am ready to give you your money, let's say after 30 days. So here you're going to send it 30, or they're like, I'm going to pay you there and then. So you're going to fine tune it to due on receipt. Due on receipt, the system will even change the due date to the current transaction date. When you set it on net 30, that means this invoice will expire on the 20th of June. When you fine tune it to net 15, that means here, so the due date gets adjusted hand in hand with your terms, with your payment terms. Yes, so let me say due on receipt. So when I scroll down, my items do not change. So I first save as draft. So proceed. So our invoice has been created. So this is our invoice. So going forth, you can go ahead and send this specific invoice on email. And also you can go ahead and send it manually. You download or print it, something like that. So once you're done downloading it or maybe sending it on the customer's WhatsApp, you can come here and mark it as sent. So you see the system has told us, I do not have sufficient stock to create out transaction for this specific item. Because when I was trying to create this specific item, I had it attached, the opening stock for this specific item. So yeah, so that's how the system does it. So we have seen you can go ahead, once you're done creating a customer, the system will automatically tell you to create a quotation against this specific customer, and you'll be able to convert a quotation into an invoice. Yeah. So let me first go adjust my stock so that I create a stock out. So here I'll go to my nails. Then I add opening stock. Then let's say I have 30 bags left. The opening stock rate per unit is the rate as per which I got it at. Then I save. Then let me go back to my sales, then go to my invoices. So this is the invoice that I've just sent. So let me mark it as sent. Yeah, so I have, assuming that the client has received this invoice, so that means you are supposed to receive this specific amount of money from the client. So let us go back to our dashboard and I show you. So you see, going back to my dashboard, the system has automatically spooled the total invoice amount because that invoice, it is still outstanding. We haven't attached any payment. So in Zoho Books, and once you create an invoice, it's an invoice in Zoho Books. It interprets it as a credit sale. So when I go back to my sales, so we have seen we have created a customer and a quote, and you can go ahead and convert a quotation into a sales order or an invoice. So for us, we have converted a quotation into an invoice. So this is my invoice. So it even shows you the status. It's due today. Reason being, it's because when we were creating this invoice, on the due date, we had chosen due on receipt. You see here, due on receipt on the terms. Yeah, so one process leads to the other. And that's also the beauty about it. So once we are done creating the invoice, so the next step is to record payment. Even the system gives you a prompt. So you don't have to, Zoho Books eliminates confusion. It eliminates confusion. So you're not going, in Zoho Books, once you're done creating the invoice, you even receive an alert here. What's next? The invoice has been sent, record payment for it as soon as you receive payment. So here, there's an option of click record payment. So here I'm going to click record payment. So here, let's say out of the 34,000, let's say the client has only cleared 30. That's the amount of money that, let's say maybe that's the amount of money that I've received from the client, from the customer. So here I'm going to recognize the payment date, payment received on the same exact date. So here, this is the most important part, the payment mode. So here I'm going to recognize how I've received the money. So let's say the customer did a bank transfer, and then here I'm going to select the account that has received. So here I'm going to say, I received via petty cash. So remember I had taken you through this specific module, the banking. So let's say if you had attached, Stanbic, or let's say equity, all those bank accounts will reflect under here. So let's say if you had attached, let's say Stanbic, that account will reflect here. But now, let me choose petty cash. If you have a reference, you can attach a reference. If you have notes, you can go ahead and attach notes of your choice. So after doing that, I'm going to save as paid. So this is our invoice. So the system automatically adjusts out of the 34,000, the customer paid 30. That means the customer is supposed to pay back 5,400. So even the system automatically adjusts the invoice for you. Even its status changes from due to date to partially paid, because we have partially received, like a partial payment against this specific invoice. Yeah. Now let's say you had attached so many invoices in the system, but then at the end of the day, you'd want to see all those invoices, let's say, are unpaid. So you'll be able like to filter that. You'd want to see all the invoices that were partially paid. You can go ahead and filter that to your choice. Even the system will bring for you these invoices that are partially paid, overdue. So here the system is telling us there are no overdue invoices. Yeah, so let us go back to our invoice. And then we see other adjustments. So remember the customer has paid us. Our next point is to give them a receipt. Just above the invoice, we see this another sub-module. It's called payment received, which is this one. So it's the same as this one. I'll click, and then I'll click this number. So this number is the receipt. So this is the receipt that you will give. This is the receipt that you will that you'll give the customer. So you can go ahead and download, or you can go ahead and mail. So that's it for the sales process. So for the sales process, we have seen the entire sales process has been captured from the customers, quotation, to invoices, and then to payments received, which is like the final document. When a customer makes a payment, at the end of the day, it's your obligation, like it's your duty to give them proof of payment. So we haven't tackled this among these sales module, among these the sales modules. What we have tackled is the customers, the quotations, the sales orders, the invoices, and then the payments received. So under the payments received interface, let me go back to home. So sales, under sales, so we have payments received. So under payments received, this is the interface that will show you all those payments that you have received against the invoices. Yeah. So let me share for the invoices that, for the modules that I haven't tackled on. So we have sales receipts. So the sales receipt, this module in Zoho Books allows you, like now, we have some clients that come in the, let's say I'm a hardware, but then I have these walk-in clients. They have come with their money. They want to buy like there and then pay there and then. So in Zoho Books, you respond by issuing a sales receipt. So a sales receipt is like that. It's like that cash, like it's a cash sale. So for an invoice in Zoho Books is like a credit sale. So when a customer walks in your business, let's say they want to get like a cake there and then, that's when you issue a sales receipt. So it's just a matter of coming here, click sales receipt, and then click new. And then the difference between a sales receipt and an invoice, for a sales receipt, you're not going to attach the customer name. It's because you do not know their name. They have just walked in. They just want to get a specific product. So here, you're going to attach, and we are going to skip for that, the customer name. And then you're going to, the most important part here is the receipt date, the date as per which they are requesting, the date as per which they are taking the items. So when we scroll down, we have the items table. So this is where you're going to attach whatever that they have got. So here I'm going to attach the nails. Let's say they have picked the nails from the business. So here you're going to attach the quantity. Let's say 2. They have taken 2 kilograms. And then when I scroll down, this is where you're going to attach how you have received like the amount of money, because they have come with their money, they are going to pay there and then. So here I'm going to say they have come with their cash, but I'm going to deposit this specific amount of money in our petty cash. So here you're going to save. So when you click save, let us wait and see how our sales receipt will reflect. So this is how our sales receipt will reflect. So let's say if this specific client wants this receipt, you can go ahead and print it out or download it or email them. So that's it for a sales receipt. So the difference between a sales receipt and then an invoice in Zoho Books. So a sales receipt is like a cash sale. Then an invoice is like a credit sale. The customer has requested for goods, but then they are going to take some time to pay you. So that is like the difference. So that's for the sales receipt. Let me also explain what a recurring invoice is. So we have seen like how to create like an invoice in the system. So let me explain what a recurring invoice is. So a recurring invoice, let me give a scenario. Let's say you have these specific clients that come and request for a good or a service, but let's say on a monthly basis, let's say on a weekly basis. So instead of going ahead and create like an invoice like the way we have seen here over and over again. So you can go ahead and trigger a recurring invoice against that specific customer, and then the system will auto-generate an invoice against that specific customer. So what a recurring invoice does, it eliminates like manual entries like of an individual invoice. Like it eliminates like you creating one invoice and then against that specific customer and then creating it the next time over and over again. So let's say you have this specific customer that let's say now this works from a recurring invoice works perfectly well for a service-based business. Let's say let's say you're dealing like let's say in internet subscription. So let's say you're going to choose the customer name. So the profile name, I'm going to say internet. So here where the magic comes in, it is the repeat entry. So the repeat entry, let's say this specific customer, you made a negotiation. They're like, I'm going to be having my internet subscription, let's say on a monthly basis. So the system here will have other fields that it has this start on. It means when this specific invoice is going to start. So here I'm going to choose the latest transaction date, which is today. So here you're going to say end zone. End zone mean as per when you would want this specific movement to expire. So if this specific movement doesn't expire, you're going to click never expires. But if it expires, that means that there must have been like a negotiation between you and the client. So let's say you had said you're going to provide internet subscription for this specific customer, let's say for all those months, and then you're ending it, let's say in August 31st. So that means this specific invoice will auto-generate itself up to 31st August. You get? And then from here, you'll be able like to attach that specific service or item that they are taking. So since they're taking internet, let me just do internet here. By the way, you can go ahead and add these items manually, or you can go ahead and pick them from the drop down, or you can go ahead and add that specific item in the system manually here. You can go ahead and add it. Let's say if it's not in the items drop down. So here I'm going to add the rate, and then I'm going to do 200K, and then I'm going to save. So here, this is our profile for a recurring invoice. It will show you the invoice amount. So here it will show you even the next invoice date will be on the 21st of June, and then the period will be a monthly period. So what the system will do for you, it will auto-generate this specific invoice again on 21st June. Yeah. So at the end of the day, if you want to see how your invoice looks like, you can go ahead and view the invoice. And then if you want to send this specific invoice for your internet subscription to that specific client, you can go ahead and send email or download it and then send it manually on their WhatsApp. And when you're done, you mark it as sent. So that's it for the recurring invoice. So let us move along. So we have this other part, the credit note. So let me explain what a credit note is in Zoho Books. So a credit note works for a product-based business. So a credit note reduces your accounts receivables. What do I mean? We have clients. A credit note works for an invoice. Remember, an invoice is like a credit sale. A credit sale means you have given a client goods and services, but then they have not paid you. They have not paid you. So let me create a scenario. You have issued an invoice to a client. You have given them, let's say, nails. I have invoiced nails. you have given them nails, but then on receiving those nails, they realize that actually one of the nails, okay, let's say you have given them 3 kilograms of nails, but 1 kilogram is maybe rusty or faulty or anything. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a credit note against that specific invoice, and at the end of the day, it's going to reduce the amount of money that the customer is supposed to pay you. So a credit note is like a goods returned note to you. So here, how you're going to execute a credit note, it's like on the invoice. So this is our invoice, it is partially paid. Assumption is the customer has received this specific invoice. So let me first try to remove the payment. Let me first try to remove the payment. And I show you how a credit note. Let me first delete. Well, let me go back to our all invoices. I have removed the payment against the invoice. So let me create a scenario. I've sent out like 1 kilogram of nails to this specific client, but upon receiving, actually let me edit this invoice and I make it to 2, because in the invoice quantity shows 1. So let me do 2. So, and then I click save. So here I say I added quantity. So this invoice shows quantity 2 kilograms of nails at a rate of 30,060. So that means at the end of that day, I'm supposed to receive 70,800. So assumption is the customer has already received the nails, so I'm supposed to receive some amount of money. So upon receiving the nails, the customer has realized that 1 kilogram of nails is faulty. So what I'm going to do, I am going to initiate a credit note against this specific invoice. So there is on my right, we have 3 dots. So I hope you're following my cursor. So on those 3 dots, you click on them. So we have create credit note. So I am going to trigger a credit note against this specific invoice. I am going to respond to the customer's query. I'm going to respond to the customer's query because the customer realized that 1 kilogram of nail is faulty. So I am going to initiate that and then click OK. So here, the system will also bring for you new credit note. So I'm going to leave everything. I'm not going to tamper with the customer name, the credit note, and then the credit note date. And then I scroll down. So this is the most important part. So this is where you're going to initiate. So remember the customer has told us 1 kilogram is faulty. So I am going to change it to 1. And then I click save. So you see, even our invoice amount has automatically has adjusted. Of the 70,800, the worth of the spoiled, the damaged kilogram, the damaged nail, it is 35,400. It means the customer is not going to pay me full amount because they have realized that actually 1 kilogram is faulty. And that means my invoice amount is going to reduce to from 70,800 to 34,400. 35,400. So a credit note is like, it reduces like your receivables. It is like a goods returned. It's a goods returned note. Yeah. So that's it, like for the sales process. So we have seen that Zoho Books captures the entire sales process, and also it incorporates in other circumstances that like, let's say the customer has returned like the goods, you can be able like to receive like the returned goods, and also those returned goods can be able like to affect like your receivables. So starting like from the items, you have seen like when you create an item in the system, that specific item will reflect in your quotation, in your invoices, or in your recurring invoices. We have seen how to create a customer. When you create a customer in Zoho Books, you can go ahead and create against a quotation or an invoice against that specific customer there and then. And then we have seen that when you create a quotation, you can actually go ahead and convert a quotation into an invoice or a sales order. We have seen how a sales receipt works. A sales receipt is like a cash. It's like a cash payment. We have seen how a recurring invoice works in Zoho Books, credit notes, and also payment received. You get. So remember, what we have, this is like the sales process captured. We also have the purchases process. So for the purchases process, we will be able like to see it in depth in the next training session. Allow me open the floor. If you have like any questions regarding like the entire sales process and then how to interpret the dashboard, you can kindly ask. So Nicholas has asked, regarding the payment you just deleted, does the system automatically create an audit trail that keeps record of does the system automatically create an audit trail that keeps record of any such adjustments or changes? Yes. Now, because we have seen at the end of that day, the system allows you like to invite like users in the system, So at the end of the day, you like as a super admin and a super admin, you can be able like to see like the activity, like you can be able like to see like the activity logs, what this specific person was able to do in the system. Let's say if you had granted access to them, if let's say if you had granted access to, let's say, these payments, the invoices, the stuff, you can go ahead and see their activity, like the activity logs. So let me take you there. When you go to home, so you see when you go to home, we have this feature, recent activities. So at the end of the day, you'll be able like to see these activities that were done in the system. But you also have this other advanced one under reports. You can go ahead and do activity logs. So when I go to activity logs, so I can be able like to see this specific information. So at the end of the day, you'll be able like to see what was deleted. Here it shows invoice was updated, credit notes applied, updated, and everything. So at the end of the day, you'll be able like to see as per what was transacted against that specific module. Yeah, even on the invoice itself, when I click the invoice, for that specific movement, Nicholas, for that specific movement concerning like you're worried, let's say someone has maybe deleted the payment in the system, you can use like the activity logs report, and then you'll be able like to track what was like what transpired, what was deleted, and what was edited at the end of that day in that chart. So Nicholas has asked, does the system show a pipeline report, a pipeline report out of the many quotations that have been generated? Does the system show a pipeline report like a sales pipeline report or summary? Yes. So concerning this question, the way I've interpreted it, like the first one, you've asked whether the system can show a report like of the quotations that you have generated. So since like the quotations do not have like any impact, like because I had explained, quotation creation in Zoho Books does not hold, like it doesn't have like any impact, any financial impact in the system. It doesn't. So even Zoho Books responded it in that manner. Since it doesn't have like any impact, there is no any like report that is attached to it. But at the end of the day, let's say you want to see like the quotations that maybe that you have invoiced, you can be able like to filter that. Let's say you want to see like the quotation that you have so far sent, you can be able like to have that filter. But we also have the like when we go to our report section. So going back like to my explanation, a quotation is like that formal document that you send to a client. That's if the client has expressed interest in your service or product. So since it doesn't hold like any financial background or any financial implication, you can go ahead and use like an invoice, like the invoice, because it's the invoice that shows like your receivables. So we have like a vast of like reports. Let's say you want to see like your sales summary. We have like a sales summary report. It's here. A sales summary, sales by customer, sales by item. You want to see profit by item report. You get? You want to see sales channel integration. So we have so many reports that will be of great use to you. So answering your question, there is no any report that is attached to a quotation since it doesn't have like any financial implication in the system. But at the end of the day, once you start like, once you convert a quotation into an invoice, you'll be able like to receive like your sales summary, you'll be able like to receive your receivables or your customer balances report. Yeah, we also have like a customer balance report, you see. At the end of the day, you will see how much money that you are supposed to collect from all those clients. I hope I've answered your question. Yeah. Is there any other question? Okay, if we do not have any other question, allow me share my screen and invite Daniel, and he talks about like the different packages in Zoho Books and also gives like the closing remark. Okay, there is another question here. I want to understand how the banking module works, like she mentioned adding that. Yes, we shall be able like to explain this whole banking module in the next webinar, in the next training, Naluwama. So for understanding like the banking module, we shall be able like to explain it in depth in our next training session. Yeah. All right, I've received a comment here from a thank you comment from Agnes. Yes, we are glad that you have enjoyed the session. We are glad that you have picked something concerning like your financials and everything. So because we will be having like other sessions for Zoho Books, guiding you through how you're going to go about like your financial tracking and everything. So kindly join so that you don't miss out on this great software that is here to solve like your accounting and your day-to-day financial transactions. So we take this feedback. Thank you so much.